Magandang gabi sa inyong lahat. My name is Dr. Jeffrey Reboron and welcome to another class on concepts on pediatrics, and we will be talking about the common accidents, significant persons, fears and plays across the different life stages. All right. So before we begin, you always have to remember that in every life stage, kumbaga, across infancy, toddlerhood, a preschooler, may mga iba't ibang common accidents na nangyayari because they have different characteristics. So the first thing that we are going to talk about is what are the common accidents, significant persons, fears, and plays across infancy. Ano ba yung mga nangyayari during the infancy period? Always remember that the most common accident during infancy is aspiration, choking, and falls. Bakit kaya sobrang prone sila, yung mga infants, to aspiration? Always remember that in your psychosexual development theory, ang mga infants po ay they are under the oral stage. Meaning, lahat ng mga nakikita nila, sinusubo nila. Therefore, they are prone to experiencing aspiration. Bakit? Kasi baka nakasubo sila ng mga bagay and then they swallowed it. It went to the lungs. So, pwedeng mag-cause yun ng aspiration and that will be very dangerous. Okay? So, very common po ang aspiration. Ano naman po yung choking? Choking is when there is a blockage that occurs in the throat or the windpipe of the patient. So, in Ilocano, naiddalan yata ang Ilocano ng ating choking or naspelan. Okay? Bakit nangyayari po yung choking? Choking po occurs when a child swallowed something na bumara sa kanyang lalamunan. And that will now block the airway exchange space. And ang mangyayari po ay hindi na makakahinga yung bata. So that's also one of the most common accidents during infancy, yung choking. So aspiration, yung mga bagay, yung mga things na nahahawakan ni newborn or ni infant, I should say, pumupunta sa lungs, that's choking. That's aspiration. Pag choking naman po, bumabara yung mga bagay-bagay na nahahawakan niya na kanyang sinusubo. Aside from that, infants are also prone to experiencing poisoning. Bakit? Kasi nga lahat ng mga nahahawakan nila ay kanilang isinusubo. Nakaigem ti katol, nyati ubrayan na, isubo na because the infant is in the oral stage. Okay? So, anong mangyayari pag nasubo niya yung katol? Eh di mapupoison. So, those are the things that can happen during the infancy. Aside from that, they are also prone to experiencing falls. When no dejay may daramudo, matinag ti agdan, aping nga mapaspasamak detoy. Always remember that infants are learning how to walk. Okay? So, nyo ti mapasamak detoy no sursurwenda pa ilaing ti agrol, kadaysiyan ti beds da, kasi di ba nga pagbata pa lang, he or she is still learning how to control the different parts of the body. Sursurwenda di ubing tigpanpanchok, when nagtiriti, agtaya-tayek so na, aglikos-likos so na di ti bed na, tendency is nahuhulog po siya. So those are the most common accidents that can happen during infancy. Aspiration, choking, poisoning, and falls. So what are our midwifery responsibilities? Number one is that you should tell the parents to never leave the child unattended. So dapat po laging merong nakabantay, especially pag infant pa lamang po yung bata, so that we can prevent aspiration, choking, poisoning, and even falls. Next, the infants should only be given toys that are bigger than their fist. Kaya nasawen po, Dejay yanti ited tayo ngay ayam ka Dejay ubing, ket dakil dapat ngim Dejay imana, detoy fist. Okay? Bakit po? Because we want to prevent aspiration and choking. Apay, kasi no dakil ngim Dejay yanti imana, Dejay kamauna, Dejay isubo Dejay ubing, hindi niya yun masaswallow. Hindi niya yun ma-aspirate. Okay? So general rule of thumb is that when you are giving a toy to the child, ang ibibigay lang po natin ay yung mga mas malaki sa kanyang kamao. Okay? All toys that are bigger than the fist should be prioritized. Hanga mabalinti ang gited ti botones, kada coins, kada kuryendo, kasi matilmon na dagitoy. Okay? It can cause aspiration and choking. Aside from that, you always have to remember that poisonous substances should always be kept away from the reach of the newborn, okay? Or the infant. Kasi nga, mahilig silang magsubo ng kung ano-ano. Right? So anong gagawin natin? Always remember na yung mga chemicals po like your muriatic acid, yung mga katol, they should be kept on the top shelf. Dijiyantihan nga magaw at iubing so that they can be avoided na ma-ingest ng bata. Okay? So that's how you prevent aspiration, choking, and fall. Okay? Did you fall is always ada dapat pantay na dayjay ubing. The infant should always be attended to. Okay? Dapat hindi siya nililive unattended. Alright. The significant person in the life of the infant is always the mother or the caretaker. Okay? Kasi nga, dito sa stage na to, the child starts to develop the sense of trust. Okay? Kung wala po siyang primary care provider, for example, yung nanay niya nag-abroad, okay? It is our responsibility as midwives to make sure that there is another primary care provider or caregiver na magbibigay ng atensyon at kalinga sa bata. Dahil kung wala pong magbibigay ng atensyon at aruga sa bata, the child will not be able to form a sense of trust. Alright? So anong gagawin natin as midwives? We should ensure the presence of a primary caregiver. That is our number one rule. Kung wala po siyang mother na available or kung wala yung tatay niya, dapat maghanap tayo ng isang magbabantay sa bata. Okay? Aside from that, we should also instruct the primary care provider of their roles in the formation of trust. Kasi nga po sa ating Erik Erikson's psychosocial development theory, the child is under the stage of trust versus mistrust. Okay. Laglagipin niyo pa that during infancy, sometimes unfamiliar people will stand out and babies will be very sensitive to their personal space. Deto'y DJ reason na aping ibagada nga adadagi ubing nga napaidam. Aping nga nakakayat ni maubba deto'y kung kunada ko ma. Always remember that when a child is not easy to be cuddled with, han nakayat insigida ti maubba kadaglalok, that means to say that he or she has already developed a sense of trust with their primary care provider. Laglagipan nyo, DJ, because they only trust their mother or their family members and yung mga unfamiliar people, yung mga strangers, ayaw niya sa kanila. Alright? So, normal lang po sa mga bata na nagkakaroon sila ng mga ganong anxiety pag nakakakita sila ng unfamiliar people. Alright, let's proceed. Ang kanilang fears naman po, like I said a while ago, infancy, ang kanilang main fear ay stranger anxiety. Meaning, meron silang takot sa mga taong hindi nila kilala. Always remember that your stranger anxiety begins at 6 months old. Aping nga nga 6 months nga mga rugi dito is stranger anxiety. Always remember that the child's eyes will start to focus pag 4 months na yung bata. Okay? So, ibig sabihin, pag 4 months to 6 months yung bata, nafa-familiarize pa lang siya sa mga taong nakikita niya. But pagdating ng 6 months, the child will already be able to determine kung sino yung kanyang family member at kung sino yung stranger. And because of the presence of that acknowledgement na alam na niya kung sino ang mga stranger at kung sino ang kanyang family, ibig sabihin na de-develop na din po yung kanyang stranger anxiety. Mabuteng tusunan, tihan na nga am-am mo. So, what do we mean when we say stranger anxiety? It is a normal phenomenon that begins at 6 months of life and the infant is only accustomed to being held by familiar people. Sanay siyang nahahawakan lang kasi ng mga family members na kilala niya. So, if there is stranger anxiety, it also signifies that there is already a formation of trust towards the caregiver. So it's a good sign. Kasi nga, pag merong stranger anxiety yung bata, ibig sabihin meron na din siyang strong sense of trust towards the family member. Next, meron din po tayong tinatawag na separation anxiety. When you say separation anxiety, it is a normal phenomenon that occurs sa 8th month of life naman ng bata. And what will happen? The infant will not want to be left alone. They don't want to be separated from their primary caregiver. And ang nangyayari is, pag lumalabas or umaalis yung nanay niya, umiiyak pag hindi na niya nakikita yung taong nagbibigay sa kanya ng kalinga or aruga, yung significant person niya. Always remember that separation anxiety, when di diyan nakayat nga may bati di ubing, it comes from the stranger anxiety. Ayaw na naiiwan ng bata dahil takot siya sa mga strangers. So pampanunutin na diyan kayat nga may bati nak ni nanang ko kasi baka alaen nak dagi tao nga hangko am-amo. So those are normal fears that occur during infancy. Stranger anxiety nagsisimula sa 6 months and separation anxiety which happens during the 8th month of life. Klaro pa po ba? Alright, we proceed. Ang play naman ng ating mga infants is what we call solitary play, coming from the word solo. Okay? So meaning mag-isa lang yung bata, pwede na siyang maglaro. When you say solitary play, it means playing in solitude or it also means playing alone. So ano ba yung best toys na ibibigay natin sa mga bata para makapaglaro siya ng solo? Number 1 is we can give simple objects that encourage exploration and open-ended play. Ano ba yung mga laruan na ganito? These are toys or games which are simple and have no rules. So ano yung example ng games na to? Number 1 is peekaboo. Ba? Di ba na-enjoy ng bata yon? May rules ba ang peekaboo? Wala po. But it helps develop a sense of trust. Ano pa po? Pinakamagandang toy po sa mga infants is rattles. Yung rattle, ang Ilocano po niyan is maracas. Okay? And other grabbing toys. Yung mga toys na pwede niyang hawak-hawakan, like balls, high contrast images, yung mga pictures or yung mga laruan na merong red, black, or white in color because those are considered high contrast toys, they will develop the auditory and visual acuity of the infant. Anong ibig sabihin nito? Yung bata, pag binibigyan natin siya ng mga maracas, yung mga tambor na pinaglalaruan niya, that will help the child to have his auditory skills be developed. Okay? Ano pa? Pag binibigyan natin siya ng mga bagay na matitingkad, like colors red, black, and white, those are the first 3 colors na nakikita ng mata ng bata. If you give him or her that kind of toy, then the infant will also develop his visual acuity. So dagijay ti napipintas nga ipayayam tayo kadidyo ubing. Rattles, grabbing toys, balls, when high contrast images that will help develop the listening and visual skills of the infant. Okay, ano yung sinabi natin kanina? We should always remember that we will not give toys that are smaller than the fist of the child. Bakit? Because we want to prevent aspiration and choking. So, pag mga maliliit na toys, hindi po pwedeng ibigay. Dapat bigger than the fist to prevent those kinds of accidents. Alright. Next. We also proceed to the... Okay na po ba tayo doon? Okay. So if there are no questions, you just raise your hand or you just chat me. If you have questions, we will make this discussion interactive. Alright. When we talk about toddlerhood, ang kanilang common accidents po ay falls. Okay? Madali din po silang nadadapa, nahuhulog sa hagdan. Bakit? Because children love to experiment. They love to use their new skills. Tumatakbo na yung mga toddlers because toddlers are already 1 to 3 years of age. Tama po ba? Okay. So mahilig na silang tumakbo, mahilig na silang pumunta sa mga hagdanan, titignan kung anong laman ng second floor. Those are the things that the toddler love to do. So because of that, they are also prone to experiencing falls. Ano pa? Mahilig din sila sa poisoning. Okay? Common accident din nila ang poisoning and also burns. Bakit naman po? Always remember that toddlers are very curious people and they love experimentation. Mahilig silang mag-isip na, nga tati mapasamak do braik detoy. So what do? Pag nakakakita sila ng mga ibang bagay, what do? Sinusubo din nila yan. Or, agluto-luto dapay dagitan. So they are prone to accidents like that, poisoning and burns. Okay, toddlers are naturally curious and they use trial and error to learn. Malagip ko lang unay when it was my birthday when I was 3 years old. Malagip ko lang unay. Deji manang ko idi ko na nakanyak. Kita deta na bato, agsilsileng ko na. Kasi luto da iti pansit for my birthday celebration. Kita deta bato nagsilsileng pidutem ko na. And ako naman, sabi ko, ayo laapi nga amin nga, kan nagado nga batong imdeto laing ti color orange. Pinidot ko deji nga bato. Yun pala, begang dejay. So, again, because of that, I learned something. But with that knowledge comes an accident, which is I burned myself. So, normal po yung mga bagay na yon. And we should always expect that those things to happen pag toddler po yung ating inaalagaan. So what is our midwifery responsibility? Ano yung mga dapat nating ginagawa or ipinapaalala sa mga magulang na may mga binabantayan na toddlers? Number one is we should always train the child to form autonomy, but they should always be supervised. Pag sinabi ng bata, when mang syakon timapanen o misbo di CRN siya latanan ang ako'y kuyuginin. You give them the opportunity to go. Why? Because you want them to form a sense of autonomy. Ngem, ham mo nga baybayan. Okay? Always supervise them in case that they experience any accident. Para nandun pa rin po tayo. Aside from that, you have to teach the parents that their house should always be made kid-proof. When you say kid-proof, ito po yung mga ginagawa natin sa bahay para hindi magkaroon ng aksidente. Like number one, alam nyo yung mga nilalagay nila sa mesa, yung mga parang rubber na nilalagay nila sa mga corners, sa mga tables. That's one way of kid-proofing the house. Ta no may tiimog de ubing, haan nga agdugul suna nga masugat because the corners are cushioned with rubber mats. Okay? Ano pa? Yung pag kid-proof din po natin is yung mga saksakan, di ba? Nilalagyan din natin yun ng mga cover. That's also one way of kid-proofing the house. Bakit? Because yung mga toddlers, pag nakakakita sila ng mga saksakan at dati gemda nga tinidor deta, no kutsara niya tira braenda, sukit-sukitin na deta. And niya mapasamak, makuryente da. So that is also one common accident because they are experimenting. Anya nga tati mapasamak no tuduke detoy. Okay, na kuryente gaya met. Alright? So, i-kid-proof natin yung bahay. Ano pa? Siguro nakakita na kayo ng mga bahay na merong mga lock yung mga stairs nila. Padatisi parang nga ikabilda. May blockage dun sa stairs. Bakit nila ginagawa yon? So that the toddler will not climb up the stairs. Yun po yung mga ginagawa natin to kid-proof the house. So those are the things that you can tell to the parent if they are taking care of a toddler who is very much curious and who loves experimentation. All right. So meron pang pumapasok. Okay, may mga latecomers po tayo. All right. Next, the significant person in the toddler's life are the parents. Kung kanina po, nagfo-focus yung bata na infant sa kanyang primary care provider, which is usually the mother, dito naman po, pumapasok na si eksena, si nanay or si tatay. Okay? The significant persons are the parents, and both male and female toddlers are expected to get over their Electra or Oedipus complex before they can accept the other parent as a significant member of their family. Malagip yung pailaeng DJ lesson tayo regarding Oedipus and Electra complex wherein nagseselos yung babaeng bata sa kanyang nanay or yung lalaking bata naman nagseselos siya sa kanyang tatay because feeling nila kaagaw nila sa atensyon yung nanay or tatay nila. During toddlerhood, they will be able to get over this hatred that they have towards their parents so that their parents will become another significant person. Okay? Tanuhan lang ni nanang kentatang dati kay kayatdan, kaya dan tumeten deji karibalda. If you understand what I'm saying. Alright? The toddler also starts to acknowledge the importance of the mother or father as part of their family. Kung yung bata po na babae, ang pinaka-favorite lang niya sa buong mundo ay yung tatay niya, pag toddlerhood na po, she will learn to accept the presence of the rival, which is the mother. Kung nananton, langarod, hami nga pumanaw dito nga bakitanin, talaga nga parten sa sunati family need. So the child will start to accept the presence of the rival as part of their family. So nagiging significant person na po din siya sa buhay ng bata. Okay. Next, the fear of the toddler is also a continuation of the fear of the infant. And that is separation anxiety. Okay? Yung separation anxiety po, nagsisimula yan pag 8 months, pero nagiging dominant yan. It becomes dominant during the toddlerhood. Separation anxiety is that the toddler's common and normal fear of being away from their parents or carers. So, ibig sabihin, na kaya ti may sina, ti dagiti mga aywan kanya na. The separation anxiety starts at 8 months of life and it peaks. Sobrang nakaroso na during the 14th to the 18th month of life. So pag 1 year and a half na yung bata, ay Diyos ko, sobrang paidam na dagita. Why? Kasi po nagpipik doon yung ating stranger anxiety. Okay. So no do mga ubing, no ibati tayo or ibati tinanang ken tatangda, pag sangit na dagita, nagwawala yung mga yan. Tama po ba? Okay. Ang tawag po natin doon is separation protest. Okay? Yung separation protest po, it is defined as a change in behavior often observed when a child is separated from their parents. No, ibati ni nanang na, kayo, mena. Agwala. Okay? Normal lang po yun. Why? That is what we call separation protest, and that is one way for the child to say, ayokong iwan niyo ako. Okay? So laglagipan nyo yung bata po, toddler, very limited pa lang yung kanyang vocabulary. So imbes na sasabihin niya, wag nyo kong iwan nanay, tatay, ayokong mapag-isa, takot ako sa stranger, takot ako sa separation. Hindi nila kayang sabihin yun. So what do? The easiest way is do a protest. Wala na dagit. Alright? Next, iba naman po yung separation protest sa temper tantrums, which are normal din po na phenomenon during toddlerhood. When we say temper tantrums, these are unpleasant and disruptive behaviors or emotional outbursts of the child, and they often occur in response to unmet needs or desires. Example, yung bata, nandun kayo sa simbahan. Igatangan naman ti balloon ko, kunana. Awan kwarta, kunammet. Anong gagawin ng bata? Ang gagawin ng bata, magwawala yan. Pananalitang nagsangit. Okay? Happy nagsangit, teta. Because the child is trying to manipulate you. Ang gagawin niya is magkakaroon siya ng disruptive behavior so that the needs will be met. At nagamit-agad dito mga ubing, pag toddlers sila, they are manipulative. No pinagbigyan suda, they will say, okay. Amo kontatan, ano basta sangit na, ket ited mo aming nga kayat ko. I will use this as my weapon, kunanan to the ubingan. If you give in to the temper tantrums of the child. So what is the best way for us to manage temper tantrums? Ang gagawin mo is you have to ignore the child and set limitations. Pag sinabi nating ignore, ibig sabihin, huwag mo siyang hamungay-aywen. Okay? Ano pa? Is makamuka dita, ang sangit kalatan, numabannog ko may kanto dito yan. That's how you ignore and set limitations. Nugsang sangit ko madidyo ubing, ibatim isunang, sipsiputam latta, so that the child will still be safe. And then kunam kanya na, nung nauma kang agsang sangitin, umekan to di giant tagabit tayon. That's how you ignore the behavior and set limitations. Alright? So those are the things that you can do to answer or to address the temper tantrums of the toddler. Okay, ang play naman po ng ating mga toddler is what we call parallel play. Pag sinabi nating parallel, ang parallel lines po ay two lines that never meet. Tama po ba? Agabay da, ngimhanda pulos nga agsabet. Those are parallel lines. The same is true with toddlers who are playing. Baby A, toddler B, they are playing inside the room. Agkadwada. But they are not playing with each other. Apay nga tanga kastiti mapaspasamak. Always remember that toddlers are very territorial. Ayaw nilang nag-share ng toys. Ayaw nilang nakapakialaman because they are trying to assert what? Autonomy. Gusto nila ng sense of independence. Kunana, hamo nga bibibiyangan dito ay ayam po kunana. Kasi no bibiyangam jay ayam na, makiririkeng ka. Okay? So ang gagawin natin is that when we are taking care of two children, make sure po, lalo pag toddlers sila, make sure that they are playing together, pero may sari-sarili silang mga toys. May sari-sarili silang mga ginagawa. Kasi, pag pinag-mix mo yung mga yan, magpapatayan yung mga dalawang yan. Bakit? Because both of them are territorial and both of them are possessive. Okay? So, dapat parallel lang po yung kanilang play. So, what do we do? Anong gagawin natin? Toddlers can play with other kids in the room, but their toys are not shared with the other kids because they are naturally territorial. Anong bibigay natin ng toys? We should encourage them to use unstructured, creative, and interactive play to help promote the cognitive and language skills of the child. So dapat po yung focus po ng mga laro na binibigay natin sa mga bata are those that promulgate creativity and interactive play. Dapat po yung mga ginagamitan na ng konting utak, problem-solving skills, and also language skills. Anong mga dapat binibigay natin sa kanilang mga laruan? Number one is dolls. Okay? Sir, paano nakakatulong ito? Di ba kinakausap yan ng bata? Anya, kumusta ka? So when the child is talking to the doll, that means that the language skills of the child are also being improved. Aside from that, pwede din natin silang bigyan ng mga animals na mga action figures. Yung mga Captain America, kada solda-soldado, those are toys that promote imaginative and creative play. Okay? Ni Superman, kung kunanan to the ubing ayayamin. So that's one way of developing the sense of creativity in the child. Alright? So ano pa? We can also give them building blocks like Lego so that they can also build toys that they want. Imagine. Okay? Ano pa yung mga push-pull toys? Amo yung mga taday kasla paguyod-guyodin da nga pilid, kada day makit kita day ububrain da day ilalako da day simbaan nga ay ayam nga sinang kabalyo nga dapaya-paya nang agkasi-kasi idururunda di antiswelo. Those are push and pull toys. Okay? Simple puzzles, balls. Those are toys that can develop the cognitive and motor skills of the child. So those are the things that we can give for us to develop the creativity and language skills of the child during parallel play. Okay. Kung wala po tayong katanungan, you just raise your hand kung meron kayong question ha. But I think wala naman pong nag-chat. Let's proceed to the common accidents of the preschool. Pag preschool naman po, ang pinaka common na accident po ay what we call motor accidents. Always remember that because the preschoolers because of the preschoolers' new physical abilities and mental development, they are prone to having accidents which involve the skin. Okay? Ada ti barong nga skill da di ubing, agtaray-taray. Okay? Nagpaspas nga ito marigi preschooler. Ginagamit niya yan. Pero because of that skill, nagkakaroon din siya ng prone to develop or to be involved in accidents like abrasion. When you say abrasion, di yung nagarasgasan. Okay? Di yan tinaikat, di yung skin na. Okay? That's abrasion. Ano pa? Cuts. Or what we call laceration. Ano pa? Scald. When you say scald is madalnakan, tinapudot nga danom. Ada tinakita na nga kape, ay iniggaman na, ay suyat na scalding ang tawag natin doon. Ano pa? Burns. So those are very common accidents in the preschool period. Ano pa? Prone din po sila to experiencing problems or accidents in the bones and joints. Ano pa? Example, getting fingers caught indoors or drawers. Malipit, nag-ima da diyan ti kutse, diyan ti arwangan, diyan ti cabin, tagsang sangit danton. That's normal. Okay? Ano pa? Fracture. Matukulan ti tulang. Dislocation of elbows and shoulders from road accidents. Those are normal for a preschooler. Why? Kasi may mga preschooler na din ngayon na pag napapabayaan ay sila ay tumatawid sa kalsada. So those are common problems or accidents during the preschool period. Ano pa? Sometimes they also swallow foreign objects. Okay? Nagsaswallow sila ng foreign objects or nagkakaroon din sila ng choking. Naimas unay di kang kaninda, kaya dain sige dati mapanagay-ayamin, ay ipapil-papil na di jayen, tinapay nga meriendain na tanong makay-ayamin. Ag-choking tusunan because of that. Ano pa? Accidental poisoning. Why? Kasi mahilig maglaro ng mga luto-lutuan itong mga batang ito. Ay, agluto-luto tayo kung kunadan to. And then kanindan to meten di jilinuto dang isbu kadatakpin. Ay, poisoning. Ano pa? Objects that are lodged in the ears and the nose. Apay. Di pa may andan no, dati makita da nga botones. Isel-sel-sel da yan ti agungda, yan tilapayag da. Those are normal accidents that can occur pag preschool na yung bata. Okay? Ano pa? They also suffer impact. When you say impact, ti bruise or nagkakapasa sila. Apay. Tagamin may patilib, may daramudum, may durun. Ano pa? Head injuries from fall. May tikmugda or eye injury, masulekda. So those are very common accidents during the preschool period. Napo, nagriga lang at anak-anan. Raise your hand kung sino yung mga may anak na dito. Okay, wala, virgin lahat. Nilang adame, siguro ti at dati. Sino dati nag-raise ti hand na, ti dana na? Alright. Nagriga lang atan niya, ti dati anak na niya. Okay. Next. So what is our midwifery responsibility kung maraming mga batang nagkakaroon ng aksidente? Ang gagawin natin is we have to teach the parents to prevent these serious child injuries. Laglagipan nyo apo nga, DJ imbaga tatay nga problema like skin abrasions, fracture, foreign objects that are being lodged, the impacts kung kunana, those are all preventable. Okay, so what do? We tell the parents to supervise their children in places where they are most at risk. Misis, bantayan basit deta anak yo kasi dito nga tawin sobrang alikutig da. Okay? So dapat bantayan yung misis no dayjay ti bathroom isuda. Dayjay da banyo, dayjay da kusina, apo makaigem da dagita ti kutsilyon kay lani kadto makiayam kay espada ko na binagsubagsul na gam kay ayam nan. Okay? So dapat i-supervise sila doon. Ano pa? If they are near waters, mahilig da nga gluglug. So mabalinda nga malmes dagita no dayjay kayo bye-bye kada waig. So you always have to supervise preschoolers around roads and cars. Okay? Nadaras ng madumpar na kita. So dapat they should be supervised. Aside from that, you also have to tell them to have a quick first aid course to the parents. Dapat dagiti nanang kentatatang or dagiti primary care providers, they should be able to know the different techniques on how to give first aid to the child if ever na magkaroon sila ng mga ganitong accidents so that they are prepared for any injury or accidents that the child might have in the future. So sabi nga na nila, mabuti na ang sigurado. So you have to give them a quick first aid course to the parents regarding cuts, kanya to brain no dati fracture or choking, so dapat alam ng mga magulang ito. Aside from that, tell them to always keep a first aid kit that are handy at home and in the car, just in case. So, useless naman po siguro pag magbibigay kayo ng first aid course sa mga parents kung wala din naman silang first aid kit. So, dapat meron silang gamit at alam nila kung paano ito gamitin. And you tell them na dapat yung mga first aid kits nila ay nakikip nila at home and in the car. Aside from that, they can also keep a list of the emergency numbers by the phone. Dapat i-save you dagita. Sa bahay namin, meron kaming mga telephone numbers ng mga Bureau of Fire, RHU, police station, just in case magkaroon ng emergency. So dapat po meron ding mga numbers ang mga parents na ito so that they can call them for help anytime na magkaroon ng mga motor accidents. So that's what you tell them, and that is part of our midwifery responsibility. Nakuha po ba? All right. Next, the significant persons in the life of the preschooler are the parents and the siblings. So kung kanina po, ni nanang kentatang lang tikayat na ni toddler, ni infant met, kaya di lang primary care provider na tikayat na, deto'y met preschool, kaya na metten pati kakabsat na. Bakit kaya? Aside from their parents who provide a sense of safety and security, the most significant person in the preschooler's life also include the siblings, apay, because their brothers and sisters take new importance in the preschooler's life because the siblings, when nagigi kakabsat na, they are often the playmates of the preschooler. Okay? And because of the older children, because of the siblings, these preschoolers learn new things from them. Okay, so nga importante met dagijay kakabsat na kanya da because they consider them as their playmates. Di ka dino dati kakabsat yun naragsak ti childhood yun kasi marami kayong mga kalokohan. So ganun din po sa mga preschoolers natin. Alright. Ano naman po yung fear ng mga preschooler? Always remember po that since the preschooler is engrossed by their interest to explore their sexual organ, ano nga po ulit yung psychosexual stage ng mga preschooler? That is the phallic stage. Di ba nga natutunan natin sa ating psychosocial development theory na yung bata, pag preschooler siya, sobrang engrossed siya sa kanyang pepet or buto. Di ba? Biding-bidingin na data. Okay? And what is the fear of that preschool? Ti mapasamak is, ang worst fear niya is that they might lose their private organs. Always remember, nag-importante ka di ubing, di yan ti vagina, di genitals na kunakon laing. Very important sa preschool yun, apay. Kasi biding-bidingin na data, ayamin na data, and the fear of the child is that he or she might lose the genital. So nga, siguro mangigyo dahil ibagbaga ti parents yo, no kadagay kakabsat yung preschooler ng ibagada nga, no hanggang agsarding kalating mo. Diba? Wenhan kila, giting ita pepe mo. Those are things na sinasabi natin sa mga preschooler. Why? Kasi nga ang natural fear po ng mga bata ay castration. Yung natatanggal yung kanilang mga genitals na yung nasirib may gayam ni nanang ko na yun. Amo na may baga ni nanang ko detoy. Yes, tama po yung mga sinasabi ng mga nanay nyo na butom. Kunada. Tama po yun. That's what we call castration. That is the fear of the preschooler. Okay. Next. That's castration. Okay? It is defined as the loss or damage to the genital organs as punishments for sexual desire of the male child towards the mother and murderous fantasies towards the rival father. So yung complex na po ito ay nagsisimula sa Oedipus and Electra complex. Castration is different from body mutilation. Naglagipin nyo when you say castration, it is the loss or damage of the genitals. Pero pag sinabi naman po natin body mutilation, it is referred to as the fear of losing any body part. No, DJ ko maubing, di ba? Ayayamin na DJ electric fan, siguro na padasan nyo DJ yan. Rayus-rayusen nyo DJ ima yun, no? DJ electric fan, nagtay-tayek, di ba? Kasi yun, ko na yung atudok-tudokin DJ rayus na, di ka di? And then nakita na kanina nang mo, kuna na, ituloy mo na ta dita, tamapungsay dita imam, tano siyam tulaing tiramay mun, kung kunada. And then, mabuting pantun. Amo tong ubrain na yan. Bakit kaya? Because effective yung mga sinasabi ng nanay nyo na ganun because you really fear body mutilation. Hanggang mapanmitan Padasin yung mapan, tasolekin ka, mabulsek ka. Those are examples of fear of body mutilation. Nagsisirib may gayam ni nanang kentatang mi amuda metin pagbagada. Tama po yun. Usto amin dagijay nga pinangbuteng da kanyayo because those are the fears of the preschooler. Next. Pag-play naman po ang pinag-uusapan natin, the most enjoyable play or toy for the child is what we call cooperative or associative play. Preschoolers have longer attention span than toddlers and they talk a lot and ask a lot of questions na hilig dadagit ang agsao-sao kada agdamag-damag. They also like to experiment with things and with their new physical skills. They like to play with friends and they also do not like to lose. Kung kanina po sa Toddlerhood ay ayaw nilang napapakialaman, ngayon naman po, they enjoy playing with other people. Ngem, kagurgura dadagita ti maabak. They do not like losing. So, that is why they'd rather engage in associative play. Yung mga larong walang nananalo, walang natatalo. Associative play or cooperative plays are kinds of group play that do not include winners or losers. An example of this is bahay-bahayan. Okay, di ba daon mga ba di ngem, they can play together. Ano pa po? Doktor-doktoran, sikati agsakit, sikati pasyente, tasyakti doktor mo. Kung kunayon to. Those are examples of associative play. Walang nananalo, walang natatalo, but they can play together. Ano pa? Lutu-lutuan. Okay, those are the best examples of associative play. Example ko man, ni Jeriel ken ni Albert. Nagayayam dati bahay-bahayan, sa daluto-lutuan, sa da nagkainan. Charing. Okay, next, let's proceed. Okay. We also give them plays that promote language, cognitive, and creative and motor skills. They should be encouraged. Okay, dagiti tinapintas ng ipayayam tayo kanyada. So ano yung mga toys na pwede nating ibigay sa mga preschooler? Number one is we can encourage toys that give you a sense of problem solving. Ano pa? Yung mga, alam mo yung mga blocks na nagsasnap together, nagjayan ti blocking, i-shoot-shoot yo. Those are examples of associative play. Ano pa? Collections and other smaller objects to sort by length. Dagi ubing ko mga, kitaan nyo dagito nga ayayam nyo lata, pagpaparisan nyo man, nunya dagi agkakakolor. Wenohan, pagkita nyo man no sino ti agkakasize, agkakadakkel, agkakalumeg. Di ba may mga toys na ganon? So those are examples of cooperative or associative play. DJ, nakakita kayo ubingan nga pag DJ yan ti ayayam na pagpipilain na tapos i-arrange na from biggest to smallest. Those are enjoyable plays for the child. Okay? Ano pa? You can also encourage them to play pretend. Okay? Or to build. Inya ti pamayan tayo kanyada isikan tayo so dati clay, wenhan ke kantay so dati pag-drawing, okay, ag-drawing the DJ, so that they can create their own furniture, kada play dress up, pag-costume da siya, ti Superman, kung kunadan to. Those are good examples so that we can promulgate a sense of creativity in the child. Ano pa? Art materials, musical toys, modeling clay, yun yung mga magagandang binibigay natin na pwedeng paglaruan ng mga bata, ng mga preschooler, I should say. Ananusan nyo na, dadani tayo malpasan. Schooler. Pag schooler naman po, the most common accident happens at school or in the playground. Pinaka-common po na mga accident na nangyayari ay nagaganap sa playground or sa eskwelahan. Bakit? Because most of the waking hours of the child are spent inside the school or in the playground. And these accidents may sometimes pose us serious injury. Napakadelikado po nito. Example ng mga accidents is number one, laceration or the tearing of the skin and muscle tissues. Example, agayayam dagkikin na matanda at dagayam ti bote, ti coke nga nabetak di napayatan na ay napisangin di yan ti dapan di ubing. That's an example of laceration. Ano pa? Contusion. Di yan ti bruising because of the injured capillary or blood vessels in the head or in the DGNT other parts of the body. DGNT pinagpasa. Basta ko man ay tupaso na, dinanog di classmate na nagbubugsing da. Those are examples of contusions. Okay? No dati pasa nga napasamak di because of the injury in the blood vessel, we call them contusions. Di ba? Sino kanya yuti nakibugsing idi elementary, idi schooler kayo. Raise your hand. Sa nakibugsing akidi. Okay? Napangasa idi tamestra ni nanang ko. Okay. Next, concussion naman po ang tawag natin if there are head injuries. No naitiimog di ubing, when natinag kumaso na slide, pak po na, okay? Those are concussions, okay? Ano pa? Sprain. When you say sprain is injury in the ligament. Naluspigo. That is an example of sprain. Apay nga naluspigo di ubing. Nagayayam ti girip. Okay, nagayayam ti kinamatan. Okay, so those are examples of sprain. Okay? Pwede ding injury on the wrist or ankle by tearing of the fibers or the ligaments. Ang tawag natin doon pa rin ay sprain. Ano pa? Dislocated joints, fracture, wenhan motor vehicle accidents, wenhan strangulation. When you say strangulation, di yung mabekkel da. Nakakita kayo nga tatiubingan, nagbitin-bitin da nga kwa, nagaduti tali-tali nga kalakalay atin da. Di ko mabekkel da gaya min accidentally. So those can happen. And also internal injuries. Those are very common during the schooler. Nangyayari yan lahat sa ating playground. So what is our midwifery responsibility? Anong gagawin natin? Always remember that school accidents and injuries are always preventable. Pwede natin po yang mapigilan. Okay, so what do? We have to teach the teachers and other school workers to, number one, check the surface of the playground for any sharp objects para po maiwasan natin ang magkakaroon ng lacerations. Okay, handang masugsugat, dapat ti playground, sandbox na pagayayaman dapat awan ti sharp objects. Ano pa? You also have to check and maintain the equipment on the playground. No, da kumati swing di jay, dapat kitain da nga naka-secure metlaing, baka kaya di na pa nag-swing bingke, biglang nga na-spark, natupakan na, nataydamin. Okay? So check and maintain the equipment on the playground. Ano pa? You also tell them to be aware of strangulation and choking hazards such as nets, ropes nga di giant playground. Dapat ikatenda dagitoy no mabaling nga makabekkel kanyada. Di ba dagjubing isereserek dati ulo da? Kadaglalok ti ayayamin da. So if those are strangulation and choking hazards, dapat tinatanggal na po yun. And playground floors should always be kept slip-free and dry. Lalo pag yung mga playground po natin ay merong tiles, apog kikinamatan dagita, matumba di ubing, may tuktok, so dagijay ti aksidente na. Next, the significant person in the life of the schooler is the teacher and the classmates. Apay nga ta, nga mas patpatchen pay di ubingan ni mestranan ng ninanangnan because the child spends most of his waking hours with the teacher and the classmates. Okay? Because most of the day, most of the time, it's spent in school and in the playground. Okay? Parents and teachers should always work closely together to ensure a healthy growth and development of a schooler. Hanga dapat uso ti pinrininggur, ibagata yung hantay nga ringringguren dagiti memestra, dagiti ubingyo. Bakit? Kasi nga dapat nagtutulungan yung nanay at si teacher para turuan po ng magandang asal yung bata. Always remember that during the school age period, maraming natututunan po si schooler. So dapat nagtutulungan si nanay at si teacher. Next, what is the fear of the schooler? The fear of the schooler is displacement or lack of belongingness. Okay? Always remember that schoolers generally begin to fear things that could happen in real life. Mabaling nga mabuting medyo ubing that a natural disaster will occur. Mabuya da news nga napag sa tibagyog, nervyos dan to dagitan. Those are normal. They may also fear getting hurt or that a loved one could die. Mabuting dadagitan because they already understand that once a person dies, that person will never come back again. Mawatan dagiti schoolers detan. So normal lang nga mabuting dagiti ubing ikakasta nga fears. Next, sometimes school-age kids may also feel anxious about schoolwork and grades. Madandanagan ng tugod yun. Wala mo kung tanakin ni nanang kubasit man na alakon. So they may fear and be anxious about their assignments, kada grades da. But the most common fear of a schooler is the lack of belongingness or not fitting in with friends. Di ba nakasaksakit nga denggen no kunada nga wanggiyam na di da kakay kaya kung kunada di ba agsangsangit kanto na muntupay kaya ti mapanag basan because that is one of your fears, lack of belongingness. Isungarod nga no ibagada dagiti friends mo nga la tano gigiyam tayo kay takawin man dayjay ay ayam na tayted mo kanyami kahit na ayaw mong gawin yon, kahit na alam mong mali yon, ginagawa mo pa rin just because you want to feel that you belong. Di ba po? Very important yun sa atin. So, that is one fear of the schooler. Ano pa yung fear of displacement? Some schoolers also fear displacement or moving from one section or school to another because they do not want to lose their classmates and teachers. No, kunada ko hello friend, grade 4 tan, tuno grade 5 ta, sana agkaseksyonan tan tulat ta kung kunayo, di ba? Tapos agsakit ko na kami yun hangkay agkaseksyonan ka di best friend you. Why? Because you fear displacement. Mabuting kayon nga baka you will not be able to establish the same friendship as with your new classmates. So those are the fears of a schooler. Displacement and lack of belongingness. Next, the plays that are very good or suited for a schooler is what we call competitive play. These are games in which players play against one another and where one player will become the winner and one will become the loser. Deto'y dagijig ay ayamin that they play together but there emerges a winner. Okay? Deto'y example dito kay bawang base or girit. Amo yung mga tadijig kinamatan nga dati player diyan parabantay di mesa nga base, dami parabantay di mesa nga base. Yun. Anya pa, patintero, linummengan, tumbang preso, those are examples of competitive play na merong set of rules at merong siyang winners or losers. Napakaganda yan for mga schoolers natin because they are usually developing cognitively and sa motors nila. Okay, motor skills. Play is instrumental in the growth and development of the child. It is important to help the child to form a positive experience and build their character to prepare them for the challenges of adolescence. So dapat po yung bata, tinutulungan natin to accept defeat. Diba ka ko, mamang nabak na, di text ko na ibusin, agayayayam kay melati text, di karburjun. Di ipanga-pangato yung iding adati, kasta comics, text, tinaga na di jay. When di lastiko, nagpukpuk kayo. Diyos ko, nugoy ayam kay paykas jay No, kunan na ubing mang nabak na ti Jackson, nagayayam kami ti Jackson kay inabakdak. Kunayo ko kunan ako medyo ubing kanyayo, you have to give them a positive experience so that they will learn how to accept defeat when they become older. So ibagayo no naabak ka ag-practice ka Jackson, may kan tag-practice ta ko ng meten. So that's how you incorporate positive experiences to the experiences of the schoolers so that they will be prepared to take on bigger problems when they become adolescents. All right. Now, pag adolescent naman po yung pinag-uusapan natin, ang common accident po ay sports and vehicle-related accident. Anong ibig pong sabihin nito? Yung mga injuries that usually occur when they are doing athletic works or no agsaksakay dati motor vehicle. Example of this is tendon, muscle, and ligament injury. Naluspigo ko mahabang volleyball, when naidaramudong ko, naitira yung ulo na habang basketball or agcheches, charing, dati accident at chess, yeah. Okay. Those are common accidents and they can happen because of overtraining when there is overuse of a certain muscle or body part or burnout. Okay, maumadan, diretso nga practice kadakwa. So those are the injuries that can occur during the adolescent period. Injuries of the bone like fractures are also common. Dislocation of joints are also common. Dehydration and exhaustion, those are examples of common accidents or problems that occur during the adolescent period. During adolescence, they start operating motor vehicles. Di kadi idi agtawen kayo ti 13, ingana 19 ke rugyan nyo tigsakay kadag drive ti sarili yung kotse, bisikleta, motor, itakas yu dagita bike yu kada motor yun tanong mapangkay maki date kada kita boyfriend yu di kadi. Okay. So sometimes your lack of experience when it comes to driving will also lead to road accidents and injury. So nga, very common po ang motor vehicle accidents during adolescent period. Kasi nga yung bata, gusto na nilang mag-drive pero wala pa sila masyadong alam when it comes to driving. Thereby, nagkakaroon po ng aksidente. Okay. So what is the most significant person in the life of the adolescent? It is the peer. Okay? Or what we call friends. The most significant person in the adolescent's life are their friends and peers. And most often, their friends' acceptance is more important than their parents' approval. Nung kunada ko mga friend, incho agi inom dapat ag-soju yakult tayo di balay ni Adame. Ne, no hanggang umay friendship over kung kunayo. Tapos ibagan to, mapanaman makiinom yan da Adame. Hanggang nga mapan, buba, nagbababa malalam kung nanto ninanang mo. And then, yati Abraham, what's more important to you? Did ibaga ninanang mo hanggang mapan, when no, if friendship over da kadagita barkada. Tendency is, yati bagam, nangarod tumakas na kun. Ikadi? So, you disobey what your parents are telling you just because you want to gain the approval of your friends. When honi bagam, mang nagadu bayadan mi, kung kunam. Okay? Nagadutin nala mga kwarta kay ninanang mo, tagay pinagilibrem lang kanya da DJ 888, kadalirik, ano da paglibrem. Why do you do that? Because you want to gain the approval of other people. Okay? So some adolescents may even disobey their parents just to please their peers. Okay? So normal lang po yun sa mga adolescents. Sabi nga po nila, During this period po, pinaka-misunderstood yung mga bata. Why? Because they have trouble balancing their relationship with their friends and relationship with their parents. So nga narigat apo ti makidil ti ubing at teenagers. Okay? So adolescents must always be guided to choose their friends. At dangar di pagsasauda di Bible nga, tell me who your friends are and I will tell you who you are. Okay? So dapat po, pag adolescent po yung inyong mga anak or yung inyong mga kapatid, tell them to choose their friends wisely. Because peers who are not guided accordingly may become influenced by other persons to develop unhealthy habits like vices and even poor character. Kitain nyo dagijig kakabarkada nga sayet, itipon yu DJ mesa nga naka-MM mga ubing, after a month, sayet tumet DJ nga ubingen. Why? Because that character is contagious. Kitaem no jig kakabarkada, masikugan di mesa, ay masikugan tumet yan dagijay sumagmamanon if you do not choose your friends wisely. So those are the things that you should do when you are taking care of adolescent patients. Next, what is the fear of the adolescent? The adolescent's fear is school and social performance. Okay? They have excessive worry. Madanagan dalang unay regarding their performance in school or the social pressures at school which may cause reluctance to attend schooling regularly. Especially during adolescent, usong-uso po ang bullying. So ano da medyo ubing ko mga kanay nga pagpabainan na classmates da, kada pagkatawaan da, what will happen to the child? The child will stop attending school. Ag-cut classes data, gawin na laingin. Menuhan, ag-absent data. Why? Because too much social pressure becomes a problem for an adolescent. Di ba ma-feel you met na duma nga hamulang kayatin ti sumrek nga mapanagbasan ta pagtripan na kantuman da classmates mo, menuhan ke pagchichismisan da kanto manin, menuhan ke patpatalikudan da kanto manin. Di ba those are your problems na adolescent? So, normal lang po yung mga ganun. Now, there is also what we call social phobia. When you say social phobia, the adolescent becomes very withdrawn. Gapot tibuteng na nga mapabainan so na ti sa baling nga tao or tibuteng na nga hanso na nga kayat ti sa baling nga tao, they become withdrawn and they are unable to overcome the intense self-doubt and worry. Mabuteng dalang unay, so nga handa pa kaya ti makipagsasaot sa baling nga taon, mga manganda nga solsolo da, agsolsolo da laeng, okay, wala silang friends. That is what we call social phobia. And social phobia comes from the fear of other people's judgment or expectations. No damagen nyo di tao, oy, apoy yung ahang kami nga sumursurot kanya da. Di ko na baamon. Pagbabain ang da tumamilaingin kada pagpatpatangan da tilikodak sungahanda lang nga sumurutin agsulo na laingin. May mga classmates po ba kayong ganun? Okay, kung meron man, you should help them because they might have developed social phobia. Okay? Adolescents may also find it difficult to accept how they look. Deta ti mesa nga problema pa iti adolescent. Alo, bes, kitam dito susok, nagbasit, kinagdakil ti suso na di nang isukatan na kanya ni boyfriend ko. Those are your drama. Okay? You have the difficulty to accept how you look. Bes, kita man dito yung pimple ko, nagaduman ng tigtubon, my God. Those are problems when it comes to accepting how you look. Okay? Sometimes adolescents, they focus too much on their flaw and imperfection. Tilang makikita da, kaya gajay hangamayak kanya da. Bes, kita man nagdakilunay sa dito bibig ko, pouty lips, kung kana. Okay? You focus on your flaws and imperfections and they fear judgment of other people. This difficulty to accept one's appearance is also called altered body image. No, dagi mesa nga tauhan na ma-acceptar. No, friend, kita nakalulo, mega nakapangpangit na. That is what we call altered body image. Bes, kita dito mesa nga matakikirat, babasit, dagi mesa dadakil. Altered body image. So that is the concept of the fear of the adolescent. Altered body image, meron siyang social expectations and social judgments from other people that can lead to social phobia. Now, we proceed to the fear of the adolescent. And the fear of the, no, not fear, play pala. The play of the adolescent is what we call athletic play or sports or contests or competitions which are primarily based on human physical competition, demanding the qualities of stamina, fitness, and skill. Can you give me an example of a sport? Running, chess, basketball, badminton. Those are examples of athletic sports na kinahihiligan naman ng mga bata. Always remember, sir, kasunod kanyamin kay ML. Considered sport na po ba yun? Yes. ML or League of Legends or Dota or PUBG or Call of Duty, those are examples of sports. Pero tinatawag po natin silang e-sports. Okay? So lalo sa generation nyo, normal na po yan. Varsity TML. Meron ngang school sa China at sa Japan na nagtuturo lang ng mga techniques or strategies sa ML at League of Legends or PUBG. So adult iskwelaan nga kakasatatan that considers esports as a form of sports. Okay? So adolescents often engage in types of play as this helps them to relate well with other people and other members of the opposite sex. Bakit po nahihilig yung mga adolescents sa mga athletic play? Di ba malagi po idubing kayo, idigi 15, 16 yo, mahilig kayo mapanagbuya basketball, na kayo nga babae. O renuhan nyo nga multi rules na digi basketball, ag-cheer kayo lata, yes, i-shoot mo na, i-shoot mo. Kuna-kunayo. Bakit nyo ginagawa yun? Because you want to have the experience of relating well with the opposite sex. Mapangkaigbuya ti basketball, tagabin na dati crush yo, na dati panyo sir-sirpatan. So those are experiences that can occur during the adolescent period. So maganda din that people like you, your age right now, are exposed to these kinds of play so that you can also be given a chance to relate well with other people and to relate well with the opposite sex. All right. Now that you have learned about the different fears, plays, and significant others and common accidents across the life stages, it is time for a summative assessment. I will expect you to log on to your Edmodo account and you will have a 20-item multiple choice quiz which will be uploaded either tomorrow or on Friday. Please contact me in case you have technical difficulties in taking the quiz. Okay po ba? So with that being said, maraming salamat po for listening to me. That has been 1 hour of discussion. Pero ang haba-haba po ng mga talakayan natin and I hope that you enjoyed your lesson. May I see your hands? Raise your hands po. Okay. Walang nakikinig. Nasasad naman tuloy ako. Raise your hands, open your camera so that we can have our first selfie together before we say goodbye to one another. Open your camera, people. Nag-enjoy na ba kayo sa discussion natin? Open your camera so that we can have a selfie. Wag nang mahiya.